Hello and welcome back to Internet of Terms. This episode is called Lean and Agile or Mean and Fragile. I'm Royi of Samsung's Global Innovation Center in Tel Aviv, where we help software and service startups succeed with funding, mentorship, office space, access to Samsung, and much more. If that interests you, please email me at royby@gmail.com. So, what do we desire today? Well, mostly to know how to answer questions such as lean or agile. Also, what's your MVP? Well, whether you know the gist of lean versus agile and what MVP stands for, which in this context is not most valuable player, thank you, the answer to such queries is delicate. But don't worry, we're here to help. First, some definitions. The lean methodology is a set of principles drafted for production, like factories. It's set to achieve three things, which are quality, speed, and alignment to what the customer wants. It is done by a set of rules and protocols for removing anything and everything which does not add substantial value to the customer satisfaction and initial request. Things like documentation, internal meetings, and infrastructure work, which does not actively support exactly what the client asked for. It also thinks of everyone who are contributing to the product as a one whole complete system and thinks about optimizing it rather than optimizing each component's work, meaning that a worker could be idle if they do not have assignments which directly add value to the current product in order for them to be available exactly when they are needed for such an assignment. Also, since Lean for software development puts a lot of emphasis on the research side of R&D, it means that every project is a learning assignment. It puts off every decision to the last possible moment since it assumes we'll know better the later it gets. Furthermore, Lean puts a lot of power in those parties who are doing the actual work, exclaiming that they'll probably have the most information and experience to determine the best course of action, provided that they're versatile and communicative enough to discuss multiple perspectives. Agile, on the other hand, is a figment of the software development industry and is a reactionary methodology to the reigning methodology of its time, which is waterfall, which entails years of development and numerous cycles to release a full product previously unseen by end users with a bucket of features which they may or may not need, use, or even know existed, that created the need for short feedback loops, internal feedback between the design, development, and marketing people. Many releases filled with small changes so that the external feedback loop will be just as short as the internal one, with each one of these small releases being designed, developed, tested, and released by one multidisciplinary team. All these requirements created technical demands such as continuous DID, which stands for Delivery, Integration, and Deployment, which in turn also dictates the use of automation, since otherwise it is not continuous, and the delivery itself will take too long to do manually each time, which will render the whole exercise futile. Also, to live up to the claim of short and meaningful external feedback loops, A/B testing and usage analytics and analysis are needed, since otherwise consumer feedback is costly to obtain and unscalable by nature. Changes are also required by the team. They have to have solid communication channels while being fiercely independent and versatile enough to reflect on multiple perspectives within the team to avoid false positives. If by now you find it hard to see anything conflicting between lean and agile, allow me to continue. MVP is a term used for both methodologies. It refers to a minimal, i.e., nothing is redundant in it, viable, meaning it is a complete experience with a stable and mature look and feel. And finally, it's a product, which means it brings actual value to someone outside the team. Sounds great, right? What if I told you there's a problem here? What's the problem, you ask? Well, can't wait any longer? Well, here it is. Don't get mad though. Too many startups focus on the minimal part and forget the viable. Viable is not a functional term. It refers to an inherent wholesomeness that exists only in a complete solution which covers a variety of related use cases and flows. So, if you have a working feature or two, you do not have a product. Secondly, since people rush out to meet the market in the name of the KISS or short feedback loop principles, they're sometimes pulling the trigger too soon without a proper stabilization and testing, which is devastating for a first impression. Since app users are not early adopters anymore, they're mainstream users, so they're not as forgiving, and you can't treat them as design partners or even worse, beta testers. Well, that's all the time we have for right now. Please join us next week for another installment of Internet of Things. Please also look in the description to find the links to all the post articles and repos I used. Bye bye.